If I had to buy one pair today, I would buy the G2. But Memo Mind is changing the way I think about smart glasses. I know when I put the G2 back on that it is lighter, the software is definitely better, but it still felt incomplete. It was so quiet. The Memo Mind is heavier. The software is still rough. This unit is not finished, but it adds audio. It has stayed connected, and it could let me leave my Apple Watch and AirPods at home. In my testing, I was able to record a phone call without the other person actually getting to know that they were being recorded. And we will come back to that. This is not going to be a feature comparison between the G2 and the Memo Mind. What I'm trying to answer is what can a product add, what can it remove, and which one can I trust more. So before we get started, this Memo Mind is a pre-release, pre-production version. They sent me this so that I can put this review together before they actually start shipping the production versions. There is no money that's exchanging hands between Memo Mind and me. Treat this as an early review and not something which gives you buying advice. Some issues definitely need to be fixed before they get shipped. Let's talk a little bit about the history. The G1 defined that. They were the first pair of display glasses with a private green display, and they just looked like a regular pair with prescription. They also had directions, teleprompter, conversation recording, and translation. It was a good first version, but it had its issues. It was still pretty early. And then came the G2. The G2 felt like the version that even reality should have actually delivered as the first iteration. It was way more polished, the hardware was better, the software was better, there were less Bluetooth connectivity issues with the G2. And these feel like the pair of glasses which I can wear every single day. In fact, on the software side, even released EvenHub. EvenHub also gives G2 a public development platform. That tells me that the G2 can continue to improve even after it's been delivered by Even. And then comes along Memo Mind, and they've decided to change the game and borrow some things from Meta. So the Memo Mind keeps the display just like the G2, but adds speakers, head gestures, and calls. It seems like a small incremental update. It's not. The display itself is a tie. Both show green text. Both look like private heads-up display. Neither of them is the Vision Pro or the Meta Quest. They're not trying to be. The Memo Mind can look cleaner in certain conditions, especially with bright light because they have a brighter display. But in normal use case, the difference is negligible. If I was looking at both of them side by side, I would not be able to tell which one's which. They also mention that they have a different field of view, but honestly, because these are so close to my eyes, I don't think I could tell you that there's a 2-degree field of view difference between the G2 or the Memo Mind. I struggle to see the difference when I'm trying to read between notifications or getting the directions or even looking at an AI response on either of them. If Memo Mind had decided to stop there, it would just look like a rough version of the G2. But then I decided to play some music. So the speakers are good, they're not great. They're good for calls, they're good for casual listening, they're good for podcasts, and they're good for AI responses. I can hear the response in my ear while still looking at the person in front of me rather than having to read the response. The G2 is just a display, and every time I would want to ask for an AI response, I would have to read it. But the Memo Mind can actually show me a small text response, and the rest it could actually speak in my ears. And that effectively changes the way I interact with this. These glasses will not replace the best earphones I have or the best headphones I have. That's not the goal. They add useful audio while keeping the ears open, so I still know what's going on around me, and it can just continue to speak to me privately in my ear. Even though they still need to work on the privacy aspect of it, because there is a lot of sound leakage that's happening from these glasses. But sometimes the best display is no display. The hardware has one obvious issue. It's the lens cutting. it definitely needs more QA. Right now, I'm paying 300, 400 for a pair of glasses such as these, and I would not accept this quality of work on a production pair. The prescription, on the other hand, is a different level altogether. From my previous videos, you might have seen that I have astigmatism, and that's easily revealed in the waveguide display that's on these. Especially on the G2s, I saw that the waveguide were failing to actually correct for my astigmatism. However, that's not the case here. The clarity on these lenses is even better than the G2. The waveguide display does not interfere with the astigmatism at all, and I don't see any distortion. It's important because that can cause headaches and blurry vision, which no one wants when they're looking at this day to day. So the finish definitely needs work. The prescription is great. The Memo Mind is also a little bit heavier. The numbers say that it is 10 grams heavier than the G2, but honestly, the weight distribution is actually much nicer on the Memo Mind than the G2. The G2 comes at around 37, 38 grams, but the Memo Mind is at 47. However, because it's a little bit lighter on the front and a little bit heavier on the back, it actually balances out a little bit more on my face. My face does not hurt. My ears don't hurt that much because I've been wearing these for the past couple of days and I've not felt any strain anywhere on my face at all. These are easily all day wearable in its current weight and its current style. Bluetooth also worked incredibly well from day one. It just got connected with my phone. Granted, I had trouble finding their app because they had this NFC tap to launch the app in the unboxing. However, the website does not show me the link for the app store, but it just stayed connected. It connects every single time. It pairs immediately. The notifications have not run into any issues whatsoever because usually that's the first one to give. I used to have a lot of issues with the G1 in terms of connectivity, and the G2 significantly improved that, but I've still noticed some disconnections on the G2, especially when the notifications stop showing up. However, with the Memo Mind, I've not noticed any connection issues. In fact, in most cases, before I even put them on, as soon as I put them on, they're just connected, and I don't need to do any fiddling or anything on my phone whatsoever. Battery life has also been incredibly strong. I've been using this non-stop for the past couple of days. I've not even put it to charge, and the audio has been playing. I've been using it for podcasts, for calls, for music, and just regular display for notifications and navigation. I've not used the teleprompter feature that much, and I've used the AI here and there not too often. But even then, the battery life has been great. I could just leave them and they move on to standby so as to preserve battery so that I can continue to use them longer. This is not a long-term battery test, but this is a good early sign that they've thought about how to do battery management on a pair of glasses. They also decided to add something interesting. They added head gestures. So I can look left, center, or right to actually make selections on the display itself. I can also shake my head to either answer or reject a call that's coming in. It's an interesting proof of concept, but in practice, I would possibly need a few more things. It's great to navigate in a menu, but I would not want to move my head continuously around to actually go through the entire menu system over and over again. They have one button at the edge here to actually click, either single click or double click to interact with the display that's in front of you. You can press and hold this to also activate the AI, which will continue to have a conversation with you. I definitely want this to be a little bit more mature before I start using it day to day. Right now, it still feels like an early proof of concept, especially with this movement on the left and right. They've added a couple of games to actually demonstrate the movement, and I don't mind playing Tetris on this, but I would rather just pull out my phone and play a game on that. And now let's talk about the main thing. A device such as this earns its place on me when it allows me to carry less. Memo Mind covers part of that. It allows me to leave my home without my Apple Watch. It allows me to leave my home with my AirPods and also a ring to actually control my pair of glasses. It does not replace any of those products. My Apple Watch gives me Apple Health and payments. My AirPods give me better noise isolation. However, in a pinch, I would easily rely on the glasses for notifications or my maps and just the speakers in the glasses for audio if I need to listen to something or if I need to answer a phone call without actually putting on anything else. The G2 is great with the display, and these bring the same, but as soon as it solves another problem which I have, which is using earphones, I easily pick these over the G2. It seems like a small upgrade with the speakers, but I would be surprised if even Realities did not add a pair of speakers in the next version. That's the value for me. I carry less things. But let's talk about the problem. The hardware is definitely ahead of the software. The Bluetooth has been solid. Rest of it still needs a lot of work. This single button handles way too many actions. I can only do single tap, double tap, and hold. There's no way to dismiss notifications at the moment. There's just sort of a plugin on the right which shows me all the notifications historically, but there's no way for me to actually dismiss all of them or mark all of them as read. And some of the other features just send me back to the phone because I need to launch those from there. There's no other way for me to actually launch other things, even through that head navigation menu. They did add, however, an interesting idea of the daily brief, which is just a scheduled job which is running, and it's powered by Gemini. It's the same model that's running all of the AI responses, even though I don't like the voice that much. MemoMind also does not have a public-facing plugin platform, so you can't actually create your own apps or your own plugins to extend the functionality which MemoMind has. I'm sure it's coming, but right now it's not there, and I can't give them points for anything that's in the future. That definitely puts the G2 ahead of the MemoMind. Now let's talk about call recording. This needs a serious conversation. In my testing, MemoMind recorded a phone call without playing any obvious announcement for the other person to know that that was happening. Is it useful? Yes. Is it acceptable? Definitely not. Recording laws are extremely complicated. Some places have single-party consent, some places have multi-party consent. My rule is very simple. If you're going to record someone, I would just ask for permission and then record them. It's useful when you're trying to take a meeting on the go and you can't actually be on your computer to actually answer a call. So what's my final decision? Is it the G2 or the MemoMind? If I were to buy right now, I would still pick the G2. The G2 is the recommendation for today, but the MemoMind is the future. This is where every pair of smart glasses will be in the next 6 months. It has better balance, stronger battery, reliable Bluetooth, and extremely useful audio features, which essentially means fewer devices to carry. Audio changes how I use the product significantly. MemoMind still needs better QA on the lenses, tighter software, and I'm sure they're thinking of what simple controls they can improve on. They can also add plugins and clearer safeguards around call recording. I'll test MemoMind again once they've released the production version of the software. Until then, I'll continue to wear these and continue to compare them with the G2. If you like what you see, please subscribe.